Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series. Making a return here tonight after a week's break after the conclusion of March Madness. Boy, what an event that was. Garrett Maines takes home the trophy and the big money, but it was Freddie Bosnez versus Garrett Maines, the championship matchup. A little bit of a dilemma as Freddie was not able to make the race, so Garrett won that round by default, but of course won the championship and had to work his way there. So congrats to Garrett Maines, and here we are back tonight, ready for more action at the high banks. Joining me in the booth, Dawson Wise. Dawson, how you feeling here tonight?
I'm feeling good, Austin. Good to be back, first of all. Been away for a little bit, but glad to be back. Love the combo we've got tonight. A lot of new stuff for some of these drivers. It's the first time we've seen this car in this series. I can't wait. I love the combo. We've run it in the light series, and it's been a lot of fun, and very, very nearly got myself victory lane on Monday, but hoping for a good one again tonight. Yeah,
a lot of what-ifs that are going to be answered here tonight, but let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. How about on the pole? The number 39, Daniel Falkingham, will start from that first position here tonight. One of your Coke Series drivers. Landon Velicki for Nightmare Esports to his outside in second. It'll be Nick Seipel back in the third spot. 2025 PGR Esports March Madness winner Garrett Maines in fourth. You've got Asher Little, Nathan Harper back in row 3. Cody Nagels alongside the Canadian Kyler Wynn back in row number 4. It'll be Dylan Jones and Brian Hennings rounding out your top 10.
Row 6, Jared Seibert starts 11th with D3. Daniel Eberhardt back in 12th. Row 7, Stephen Miles in the 24, and Freddie Bosnez in the 54 machine. Row 8, Matthew Stolnick making a name for himself in PGR. He's back tonight in 15th with Sean Corbin in 16th. Row 9 to be Evan Carlbon for the Jack Shack in the 78, along with Chris Melton for R&R in the 52. And row 10, Nash Brambilla in the 23 for Team PGR. And, of course, series owner Michael Triscaro, he'll roll from 20th.
Jeff Merck, Kenny Reels starting back in row 11 tonight. Logan York alongside Mike Davenport. That's back in row 12. Hunter Hastings, 25th. It'll be Michael Barksdale, 26th. John Darnell alongside Chris Blanchard in row 14. Chase Mistretta and James Wagner round out your top 30.
Row 16, Adam Young for the Jack Shack in the 25. Mark Vondell, McCullough Motorsports in 32nd. Row 17, Tucker McClendon in the 40, and Sterling Tice in the 26. Row 18, Ryan Bailey in the 10. Jared Haynes for the Jack Shack in the 007. Row 19, Steve Sizemore in the 8 machine, and Quentin Steinbach in the 22. And rounding out the top 40, a couple heavy hitters, Trevor Osronaut for the Jack Shack, and Michael Guest to the Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Matthew Taylor will start 41st. Joshua McCullough, 42nd. Tyler Vickery, Chris Taylor back in row 22. Ken McCullough Jr. and Steven Scott round out your 46-car field. Brief look at your race info here tonight. We're going to go 50 laps in the newly edition, if you will, ARCA Series. Excited to see what these cars can do. 45% fuel, 2 sets of tires, no fast repair, 1 green-white checker. That's one of the new rule changes. And notice the track temp, 141 degrees. Scorching hot, and boy, it is going to be a fun one. We've seen this car in the light series. What are the big dogs going to do here tonight? 50 laps to decide a winner. Here we go. Green flag is in the air, and we are underway at Talladega.
Coming to the backstretch, trouble. Daniel Falkingham, the pole sitter, gets turned to the bumper of Nick Seipel. He's going to try to force his way back up. They check up all the way back. Chase Mistretta off the racetrack. Falkingham, Seipel, 4 wide, several rows deep as the field comes together, and that's exactly what I was going to start to mention, Austin. The bumper hook will be rampant tonight. You cannot lock bumpers like we typically do. There's an art to it in this car. Nick Seipel, surprisingly, one of the guys in the light series, makes the first mistake.
Yeah, surprising for sure, especially, again, the light series has ran this car a few weeks, but it's a lot different, Dawson, and, you know, some people love it, some people hate it, but the general idea, and you'll probably get a feel just watching these guys here tonight, pushing on the straights, you can do that. Pushing in the corners, it is really dicey because of that bumper hook. If you've got a guy dead square, you can push anywhere you want in these cars. If you get just a little bit offset left, you're going to see that car start to dart around. Now, on the straightaways, you usually get away with that, Dawson. You make a little bit of an adjustment, everybody's okay. You do that in the corners, you're going to see the guy in front of you get turned. We've seen it many times already, and again, we are going to see it plenty here tonight, but doesn't seem to be suppressing the early aggression here. 3 wide, Falkingham lost those positions, and he wants them right back. And guess who? The 46 trying to follow him right back to the front after Falkingham, by the way, had that early issue regarding him and Nick Seipel. Nick Seipel still buried back in the pack, but again, Falkingham trying to climb his way back to the front. 3 laps now complete.
Yeah, Falkingham got a little bit lucky when he got on the right track trouble. Around goes the 24. I believe that might have been Miles. They're going to pile up big time here in 1 and 2. One car up into the catch fencing. The big one strikes on lap 3 as soon as we got into a rhythm.
Man, and that was the 24 of Stephen Miles. Massive damage. These guys are still hitting big back here. The 14's in it, the 46. Looks like the 30, James Wagner, was hoping he was going to be able to put in a good run here tonight. He's going to get collected early. And a whole bunch of others. Michael Trasquero, this is going to be a big break for him. He was not with the lead pack, so this will be the break he needs to catch the lead pack. But, man, this tore up a ton of really good race cars. One of the new drivers in the field here tonight, Ryan Bailey, didn't even get a chance to talk about him yet. And already massive, massive damage to the front nose of his Toyota Camry. So he'll take that reaction. Excuse me, it looks like is it factory or reactory eSports machine back to the garage here early. Again, no fast repair, so any damage that you sustain, you're going to have to try to get fixed manually. And the other thing, Dawson, with these cars, a lot of people you'll hear them refer to kind of as paper mache. They're, as fun as they are, they break so easily. So when you get in these big wrecks, it's not like, maybe the next gens, maybe the trucks, one of the cars that we see where maybe guys can still recover even if they have a lot of damage. Not the case in these. If you take a big shot like some of these guys took right here, you're done. And you know what it was, Dawson? It was exactly what we just finished talking about, I believe. We'll go back and look at this here. This is a bit of a tough angle. It's from the back. Let's see if we can go to the front angle here. See if Landon Veliky is actually touching his teammate, Stephen Miles, here. You see, there's Veliky in the middle of the corner. No contact there. And no, that's not what we thought it was. In fact, that's actually going to be some netcode from the bottom lane. Garrett Maines, you saw him drifting up just a little bit. I would assume he's looking for a little bit of air here. But as he drifts up, Steven may be creeping down, but that doesn't matter because they were never going to hit each other. They get close, Dawson, but there's no contact. iRacing picks it up as there is, and that little bit of netcode was all it took to get the 24 turned down the banking, gets into the 18, back up the track he goes, and this is a big shot into the outside wall. Almost gets kind of caught on the wall, and that just piles everybody in. Falkingham had absolutely nowhere to go, and Chris Melton trying to sneak through. He couldn't go anywhere either. And it's just this massive pileup that collects Nick Seipel and a whole bunch of other drivers. James Wagner, you see at the end. I mean, this is one of those ones early where if you see it and you were not involved in it, you might be rethinking your choices on how you race the rest of this one.
I was watching it back from a couple different angles there, and Garrett starts to wash up. I'm not sure as much as he's getting air as it is he may get a little bit of help from behind, and that's Freddie Bazinas that's in line with him. And I wondered if there was a little tap. Then I think he got him a second time, and it was the second one that upset Garrett's car enough that it shot him up the racetrack and got some contact with Stephen Miles. And boy, there are some monster hits in this one. You talked about how fragile this car is. Debris everywhere off several different race cars. Landon Veliky, Matthew Stallnecht, big damage on both of those cars. Nash Brambilla in it as well. Mike Davenport got a big piece of that. There's a lot of big names on lap 3 that experienced some misfortune. And again, maybe there's a little more to it there. Maybe Garrett is looking for air, but it looks to me like maybe Freddie Bazinas gives him just the slightest bit of help. Maybe that was netcode as well.
Could have been. And in the back, too, we saw a couple of drivers get involved in this way after the fact here. One of them looks like was Ryan Bailey here after things were all said and done. And we'll go back to his cockpit. That was one of the views, though, that we wanted to look at is, here you go, Ryan Bailey sees the wreck. Looks like he's okay, dodging all the debris, dodging all the cars, but just can't get on the brakes and get the car woed down enough. And then right there at the end, contact he has with James Wagner. That was really kind of what I would say ultimately finished him off right there, Dawson. That was a heavy hit for both of those cars. Michael Guest back here, not sure if he got a little bit of damage in this or not, but do want to give you one or two more angles of this before we go back live. First caution of the night, by the way, a little bit earlier than expected. But, I mean, this is, something I think we thought was going to happen at some point, Dawson, a big one. It was just a matter of when. It's, anytime you talk about super speedways, there's going to be a big wreck. And unfortunately, this one happening early, taking out, again, a lot of really, really good race cars. Saw the 46 involved. That was Matthew Stallnecht, who came into the race with a lot of hope here tonight. One of the talented super speedway drivers. His night's also done early. And so as we turn our attention now back live towards the front of the field, your top 5 as they run. Nathan Harper in the 18 leads the way. We got Daniel Eberhardt on the outside in second. Back in row 2, Garrett Maines and Kyler Wynn. And it's Brian Hennings currently rounding out your top 5. How about Cody Nagels up here in the number 6 machine? You've got Kenny Reel, Logan York, Sean Corbett, and Nash Brambilla all rounding out your top 10. By the way, a couple announcements here before we do get back going green. Normally the co-host up here in the booth, obviously Dawson, very excited to have you with us here tonight, but we're used to seeing Matthew Baker, who is headed overseas, and I believe he may actually already be overseas. So we appreciate all Baker does for the country, and I know we'll still get to hopefully see him around. I think he brought a wheel and pedals set over, but wish Baker all the best, and again, appreciate his service and everything that he does for this country, and we certainly miss him up here in the booth. And then also a couple other announcements I wanted to make. We'll talk about payouts later tonight. And then lastly, I did make a couple of edits. We turned the, I don't know what the word would be, I guess, quality of the stream down, at least in terms of bit rate, just so it would hopefully look a little smoother. So instead of 1440p here tonight, turn it back to 1080. So do let me know how everything looks and sounds, if you notice any difference, if you don't, and that will certainly help us going forward. All right, enough of the yapping. Dawson, get ready to go back green here. What's your mindset if you're on the front and you just saw what happened?
Well, kind of similar to how we were a few weeks ago when we got our first start in this car in the light series. And up until that point, I was kind of in these guys' shoes. I hadn't really run this car to Super Speedway. I was unfamiliar with it. And now these guys have seen that happen. And we saw it happen too. Now remember, Brian Hennings had an incident in the first light series race on lap 3, just like this race. And from there, we kind of were like, okay, we got to be a little more careful. You know, let's tone the pushes back. Let's try to figure this thing out. I imagine that the big dogs would definitely do the same. But we've seen them now. We've seen them test the limits. Now they know where that limit is. They're going to have to draw it back just a little bit. And we'll see if we can get into a bit of a rhythm here. Not a heavy fuel load either, so pit stops are on the horizon, not too distant from here. Green flag back in the air. Nathan Harper on the front row, the white and blue unsponsored Mustang. D3 on the top, and right as they go back green, I said I thought they'd learn. Apparently they have not yet, because that was almost an offset push to the 90 of D3. Off into 1 and 2. They start to fan out. Third line's going to be interesting tonight. These cars get hot so fast. And I don't know about you, Austin, but I was struggling to cool down running to the front. We'll see if these leaders have the same problem on a hot track tonight.
Yeah, and it's not just the lead pusher that gets hot either. Whoa, man, Nathan Harper, big moment down on the apron here. He's got to come back up. Somebody's going to have to let him here. Maybe not. He's going to stay on the apron into turn 3. Chase Mastretta's not going to cut him a break. Finally, they give him a little bit of room to work up. Really, really great save right there by Nathan Harper. That's almost exactly what we saw carbon copy between Daniel Falkingham and Nick Seipel on the first restart. So that first lap, a lot of pushing down the backstretch. It's not worked out too well for that inside line twice so far here tonight. But back to the situation up front. How about 3x3 as they cross the stripe? The outside, Nick Seipel. Trouble early, but now he's back in the lead here at Talladega. And he is not alone. The outside still rolling, but man, the 60, Jeff Merck, pushing on the outside. Dawson, they're getting out of shape. These guys have got to calm down or they're going to have a repeat of that first incident.
Oh, that was a big block by Seipel to the safer barrier. That run was big from Trevor Osmond and Jeff Merck, the way they were connected. Seipel had enough room and enough momentum to throw it on the nose of the 89. Now will go top to bottom. How about that? Going all the way to the yellow line as Osronath gets enough of a run to go to the middle. So those two cars, big net gain for those two. No surprise for me for Nick Seipel, one of the premier drivers in the light series in this car, has a big handle of it. He's throwing more blocks. How about a block on multi-time winner Kyler Wynn? Nick Seipel throwing some haymakers here at the front. Unfortunately, will not work. Wynn to the lead, and Osronath's going to be one of the big beneficiaries of that on the top side.
And here comes Kenny Reel in the number 88 Mountain Dew machine here tonight. 89 of Trevor Osronath, his teammate, trying to side draft, and he's going to get split. Trevor went down for the side draft. Merck decided to stay up top, and he is going to pull the 44. I believe that's Hunter Hastings in the James Wagner's welding machine here tonight. Chris Melton getting lined up with his R&R teammate. So as those two roll the top, looking for some more help, they might get it here with the 8 rather, trying to make his way to the front. That's Steve Sizemore. Good run for him. Corbett now the lead pusher on the bottom, but still 3x3 as they work off a turn number 4. And right now, Dawson, the hot track temp proven to make the racing that much better. Any line has worked. But when things get clogged up, that third lane really tends to roll. And how about this? Hunter Hastings to the lead.
Oh, he's going to try to go back middle, though. Merck has too big of a run. Hangs the left, goes to the bottom on the bumper of Kenny Reel. Win up front. Melton on his back bumper. How about the Wagner's Welding boys so far? The 52, the 44 up front. Steve Sizemore joins the party as well. Logan York into the party also. And now, top 4, top almost 5. Look at York trying to split right rear on Steve. Sizemore trouble. Hastings goes around, or does he? What a save by Hunter Hastings.
Oh, my gosh. These cars, tell you what, they have a ton of downforce. That's the good thing, is when you get out of shape. You know, Dawson, I think we both experienced this in the Light Series race. I was able to make a couple of wicked saves that I could say with certainty I would not have made in another car. So again, a lot of downforce in these cars. You can make these kind of saves, but again, still very, very impressive here as you get turned sideways on the backstretch. Usually panic is the first thing to set in, but man, the 44, and that's definitely got to be 210 steering. Look how quickly his hands are whipping back and forth, but it works out. He saves it, and not only does he save it, but he's able to get back up on the racetrack. I don't know if he kept with the draft here, Dawson. As we go back live, he does. So that's a big break for Hunter Hastings as he'll get linked up with Evan Carlbon and a few others in this second pack. But back up front, that did not seem to calm the aggression down. Still 3x3 in the heart of the pack, but up front, you've got the 2 of Kyler Wynn leading the way, Chris Melton second, Steve Sizemore in third. Here comes the bottom.
Here comes the middle as well. A couple cars in the middle lane. I believe that might be Michael Triscara who makes his first move towards the front. He's got Osmond and Seipel looking for round 2. Wynn sees it, jumps down, but Triscara had to jump out of the throttle, and that almost got that entire line squirrely. What that does is allow Garrett Maines to go to the lead. He brings Nash Brambilla into the party. Here comes Jared Haynes as well for the Jack Shack. Got Kenny Reel in behind him. Those two know each other very well. All kinds of shuffling up front. We've had a dozen different leaders already, and it's only lap 12. Add Nash Brambilla to the list, the Team PGR car to the lead off turn number 2.
And that trend's not going to settle down anytime soon. The pack coming up on one of the damaged lap cars. That's James Wagner. Whoa! Brambilla, big wiggle right there. He got out of shape off the front bumper of Kyler Wynn. He saves it. Garrett gives him a shot into 3, and they reorganize as up top. The 2 blinking around just a little bit. They'll move down to the middle. Triscaro follows, and that may give Chris Melton a chance here with Steve Sizemore and company up top to try to make his way to the front. It'll be 13 of 50 laps complete when they cross the line this time. All right, let's get you a few updates here as these guys remain 2 and 3 wide throughout the pack. First up, some of the driver cams that we have here tonight. Jeff Merck in the number 60 car right in the middle of this chaos on that 3rd lane. Trying to make something happen, and for Jeff Merck here, you know, not really much he can do, Dawson. You can't really bail out of it. You can't go forward. You just got to kind of play your part in line and hope that things go forward. And right now, Jeff Merck already up 6 spots from where he started this race, so certainly moving in the right direction. Another one that's moving in the right direction is series owner Michael Triscaro, still looking to grab a win in this car, Dawson. Maybe tonight's his night.
Yeah, it could be. How many times have we said it? We're waiting on the moment that he decides to go and win one of these races, and tonight drives right to the front. Plus 14 on the board right now, up into the top 10. Was in the top 5, actually briefly led for a moment, but as we've seen already tonight, that does not last long. Again, 15, 16 different leaders at this point in the race. Kyler Wynn took a turn. Trevor Osmond just took a turn as well. Nick Seipel trying to get back to the front. That line has petered out just a little bit. The temperatures, I think, in the engines are starting to take their toll just a tad on the top and bottom lanes. And unfortunately, for Michael Triscaro and Trevor Osmond and Nick Seipel, that's going to drop both their lines out. Kyler Wynn, masterful job so far of controlling the runs, controlling the field, and leading a bunch of laps. Somebody just blew up. Logan York, the 0-2. Seipel into the outside walls. The field scatters. The 0-2 implodes on the back straightaway.
They're all trying to miss it. The 0-2, Logan York, he did get up top and out of the way for now. And I was just getting ready, Dawson, once you finished up, going to say, let's go back to the point of overheating and the issues this car has. So kaboom for Logan York. He's done for the night. And that's tough because that race car looks clean, but the engine is expired. And it's going to be, you know, really an issue, I think, for drivers, especially at the end, Dawson. But I was going to say, you know, I noticed in the Light Series races with these cars that it's not just the lead pusher. It's also the guy that's 3rd in line. And for Logan York here, I know he is the lead pusher. But when these get hot, they don't just cool down, even if you duck out for air. I mean, it takes multiple laps of trying to duck out for cooler air without pushing to get him to cool down. And for Logan York, I'm not sure if he just wasn't watching the gauge or just trying to kind of play with that limit, as we know a lot of guys do, but it just doesn't work out for him here in this case. And right there, it blows up on him. Motor completely expires, and at this point, all he can do is hold it up top and hope everybody misses. Some major stack-ups and some contact for Seipel, but overall, I think everybody did a pretty good job missing that, Dawson, for what it could have been.
It could have been a lot bigger than that. We could have been looking at an incident the same size as the first one. Everybody, though, able to keep it going. Front pack not going to waste any time. Again, just like the last near incident, it took them a few laps, but they're right back to 2 and 3 wide racing. You'll see that top lane, and this is something I was going to mention earlier that I noticed on Monday night. That top lane comes down off the wall and starts to side draft just a little bit. We usually see that the Gen 6 and the next gen more prominently, where you can basically park that run in its tracks on the bottom, and that's exactly what Kyler Wynn and company up top did right there. Look at how far back they sent Bazinez, Triscaro, 5, 6, 7 car lengths. And the side draft in this car, the right side force is extreme right there. Kyler Wynn exploits it. Trevor Ostronoth has been trying things here, testing things, trying to make lines work, trying to get a couple more positions. He's had to remain in line behind Brian Hennings. Brian doing a good job defending it. Ostronoth wants to be on the move. He's antsy. He wants a few more spots, running 5th, make it 4th at the line. 17 laps on the board.
Well, it seems like Trevor has a thing for when we come to a different car. He always finds victory lane before anybody. He's got multiple PGR wins, and most of them are in a car that we don't usually run. Not the bread and butter series like the trucks or the Xfinity cars. It's always in something different. For example, the Gen 6 series, when he got the win in those cars. So he's got a great shot here tonight. He seems to figure the new cars out quicker than anybody else. And for the Jack Shack, that would be a huge win, not only for him, but for the team in general, to try to get some momentum back in their direction. Now, notice the track map there in the top right of your screen. We don't just have one pack, we have two, and that second pack is pretty dense as well. It's from about 27th on back. But remember, we started with 46 cars on the track, and we still have about 40 running. Now, this second pack right now being led by Chris Blanchard in the number 9. He's got help from Asher Little, Ken McCullough Jr., and multiple other drivers. They're trying to catch, but, you know, they're really not making up much time, so they're going to need a caution with the way things are going right now. About 4.2 seconds back from the rear bumper of Mark Vondell, who's the last car in this lead pack. Just wanted to give you a quick update on that. Meanwhile, back at the front, still 2x2 here. Daniel Eberhardt on the bottom, but again, here comes the top. Cody Nagels and Garrett Maines have gotten linked up, and that hot track temp, which we pulled up just a few minutes ago, you notice 142 degrees. That's about as hot as it can get here in the sim. Means that that third lane is going to be an issue all night, but there's really nothing you can do about it if you're in the middle, Dawson. You can't jump up to really block it. We see that usually doesn't turn out too well.
And it doesn't right there. 3 different cars get clear. They tried to get forward. Daniel Falkingham still playing bully ball with Brian Hennings. Brian holds his ground, stays in the middle, and will leave Falkingham to the help of a couple more cars up top, led by Sterling Tice. But 3 cars got clear. Nagels, Mistretta, the returning Chase Mistretta, and Garrett Maines all were able to utilize that top line, and that's because Daniel Eberhardt and Brian Hennings had gone to the outside. There wasn't enough movement between the middle and bottom for temperatures to reset, for guys to be able to push as hard as Garrett Maines and Cody Nagels were in that top lane. As such, these guys go to the front now. It's nightmare on nightmare here, top and bottom. Nagels, but Mistretta, that was a big blink. That was extended. Brian Hennings backed off. Now the bottom will roll just a bit here off turn number 4 as pit stops begin.
Yep, good call, Dawson. Right is just about, I was getting ready to mention them. These guys bring it down to the pit. Oh! Falkingham up and over. Oh my goodness. What a hit for the 88. Daniel Falkingham upside down. Car back on all 4, but he is done. I have never seen somebody get hit that hard on the pit road entry. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that didn't draw the caution. Yeah, well, there we go. It does. Holy moly. Falkingham got clobbered just as everybody looked like they were getting in pretty clean. The 88. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you saw that toss in. That's one of those things that, you know, I know we're in a racing simulator, but you think of like a horror game when you get jump scared. I mean, that was one of the most brutal hits I have ever seen, and it's going to all come from Falkingham having to try to pit here from the outside line. That's where the problem originates. So watch what happens here. So they come off the corner. Everybody dives down. Falkingham's stuck on the outside. So he's trying to find somewhere to go down. Can't get down in front of Corbett because he's staying out on the racetrack. So he's going to try to split the gap right in front of one of the R&R boys and just not able to do it, and gets, I mean, just clobbered. Look at that thing. Soon as he gets hit, up and over, barrel rolls multiple times. Look at this thing. Finally bounces back on all 4, but, I mean, he is done. Have you ever seen something quite like that, Dawson?
Well, it's kind of something I noticed in this car. If you hit it right, for some reason, it just kind of vaults you into the air. It's so weird to see on the racetrack just out of nowhere. Like in any other car, he just kind of gets hit and spins, goes in the grass. That may not even draw a caution, honestly. If he just gets hit once, goes to the grass, you know, kind of does a lazy spin in the infield and gets it going. And actually, he was able to drive away, which I think is the more stunning part. He threw it in gear and drove away, even though he just done about 9 rolls in the grass. But it's something with this car. That's a mistake on Daniel Falkingham's part. He saw him playing a little bit of bully ball up front, like I talked about with Hennings. Well, now you know why. It's because Falkingham had to pit. Unfortunately, he's not able to make it to the bottom. That is an uncharacteristic mistake for Daniel Falkingham. I'm not used to seeing him make moves like that, and I'm sure if he could have that one back, I'm sure he would gladly take it.
Yeah, I agree, and it was John Darnell, by the way, who clobbers him here. You see Darnell staying out on track, sees 88 slow, but yeah, there's just absolutely no way Darnell could react in time when that happens. It just happens so quick. And for Falkingham here, we got the onboard from everybody else. Let's see what it looked like from his point of view here. If you get dizzy easily here, you may want to close your eyes for a minute. Watch this hit for Daniel Falkingham. Goes for it. Clobbered, and I mean, look at this thing go. Catches the grass and then barrel rolls. As you said, Dawson, I'm surprised out of everything that he hit there, somehow drives away like it's nothing, but nonetheless, that damage is obviously going to end his night. But hey, well, maybe not. He pulled back out on the racetrack here, but he's running 40th. Obviously, still a ton of damage on that car, and I'd be shocked if it's going any faster than 150. And yeah, there you see it, 145. Top speed right now for Daniel Falkingham. So looking like his competitive chances are done for the night. And man, tough break for John Darnell, who was minding his own business there, trying to stay out on the racetrack. And you said it, Dawson. That's one that Falkingham's going to wish he could get back. But nonetheless, back up front we go. Current scoring has Asher Little as your leader, but he is in front of the pace car, so we'll see how things equal out with that. Hunter Hastings second. And you've got Brian Hennings in third, Cody Nagels fourth, Daniel Eberhardt in fifth, with Tucker McClendon in sixth, Trevor Oswald seventh, Chase Mastretta in eighth. There's Tyler Vickery in the 124 machine in ninth, and Kenny Reel rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, interesting pit calls here. We were kind of in the middle of a cycle, so those leaders that stayed out, unfortunately, do not get lucky. The group that was on pit road gets really lucky and is able to basically cycle their way back up front. So good strategy call by those guys. Obviously, didn't anticipate the caution coming out, but got a gift, and it takes that sometimes. And now, you know, you're up front with only really one green flag pit stop left to consider with about 14 laps to go is when we'll start that window. So big break for the second pack as well. Hunter Hastings was in that second group after he got turned up front, or turned off the racetrack, excuse me. He was in that second group running P2 right now. The 44 got a really big break that he needed. A bunch of other guys did as well from 27th on back.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, even with that, I don't think the aggression level is going to change much here. Be interesting to see as a couple drivers here are going to go down and top off on fuel. Asher Little and Tucker McClendon, two cars that you see there from the front, going to lose their track position, but again, top off on fuel. And so that'll move everybody up a few spots, at least inside your top 15. And let's see if we get the one to go signal this time. Looks like we will indeed get just that. All right, lights go off on the pace car. That means one to go. All right, before we get back to green flag racing, let's take you over and show you what the payouts are looking like here tonight. $300 to your race winner, $227 to second, $200 to third, and $140 to fourth, $127 to fifth, and $56 to sixth place. And don't forget about the $50 bonus to the highest finishing PGR driver without a win outside of the money. So a lot of ways to win here tonight, Dawson, but obviously everybody has their eyes on the prize for the top 6 payouts, as those are the highest paying spots here tonight. And by the way, if you're interested in joining PGR, you got a couple ways to do it. Thursday series, always open to anyone, although if you're a little bit new to the money racing or super speedway racing side of things, and you want to get into this kind of action, check out the PGR Light Series. Runs on Mondays. New season just kicked off this past Monday, so still plenty of time. And so should be a fun season. Dawson, I know both myself and you are running that one, so had a great race the other day. Well, I mean, at the end there, we tried, and nonetheless, the point is, a lot of the guys that you see in here are a mix of some of the pros, some of the development drivers, and everything else in between. So you always get a good mix. I think that's, you know, what makes these races so good. But here tonight, the ARCA car continues to prove it. It does not disappoint in terms of the racing it provides.
Yeah, you never get a chance to take a breath, and we haven't taken many up here at the broadcast booth so far. It's been just talking a mile a minute because of how fast the moves happen. The runs are massive. The changes in the lead are plentiful. I mean, we've had probably 15 or 18 different leaders at this point. And yeah, the Light Series certainly kind of provided an appetizer, kind of showed us what we expected, and I certainly showed what not to do on the last lap of the race, but you know, got to go for it, and certainly could expect something like that to happen again tonight. Somebody going for a gap that maybe it's there, maybe it's not. This car, it's been so much fun to learn, so much fun to kind of watch everybody figure it out, you know, kind of watch myself figure it out in the moment. It was really fun the other night too, and as these guys get better, these races are only going to go up. I think these guys have the pattern now. I think they've got the idea. They've kind of a little more comfortable on that opening 5 or 6 laps. I mean, it felt like every push was dangerous, treading on the line of what's safe and what's not. Now I think these guys have figured it out a little bit now as we get towards the end of the race. Throw that right out the window because I imagine those pushes will get desperate once again. But for now, seems like these guys are starting to get under their belt. And boy, the racing has not disappointed at all, like you said.
Gonna get crazy, that's for sure. By the way, I don't know if we've mentioned this since it was updated, but Talladega Superspeedway, one of the things that got updated in the most recent update. So it's kind of hard to tell from the broadcast, but as a driver, man, I mean, second that I hit the track, I go, whoa, this is different. They changed this. So it's the newer Talladega. One of the big things that you could notice on the broadcast is that yellow line on the bottom of the racetrack. Now that black and double yellow line instead of just the single yellow line that used to go around. And it just feels like a bit newer, a little bit smoother of a racetrack. So definitely glad to see them make the update there. Obviously not resurfaced, though, since the last update. And now as we do get ready to get back to green flag racing, I do want to say for anybody that is tuning in, we appreciate you being here. See a lot of people out in the chat here tonight. Baker's Mom, Donalda Adams, Heath Job, Roughneck Racing, Jess. Got a few others here in the chat that joined recently. Hey, it's Dina, Lisa W. Good to see everybody out watching tonight. Don Merck, good to see you. Christopher McCullough in the chat. Lisa W. And a few others. Mike Davenport says, in reference to that last accident, Daniel Falkingham flipped 5 times and could still go. I didn't wreck nearly as bad. It crew made me park it. Yes. See, well, that seems like the way it goes, too, sometimes in these cars. It's almost like a piece of paper. If you throw it, nothing really happens. If you tear it, you know, it's pretty much done. I mean, you tore the piece of paper up. These cars kind of feel like the same. Daniel Falkingham flips over. Nothing happens in the sense of he's still able to drive it. You hit the wall, though, rips something off, car's done. Nonetheless, I mean, you got to keep your car clean till the end, and we've already seen a few big names out of it, Dawson. We'll see if we see a few more big wrecks before this thing's all said and done. Halfway. We've made it 25 of 50 laps complete as they cross the line this time. Here we go. Green flag is back in the air. 26 laps to go at Talladega.
Good start both ways. Bottom is more connected, though, as Hastings tries to hold on for dear life on the push from Trevor Osborne. Outside, not quite as connected. Hennings leads the way up there. Another driver I wanted to watch for. Another guy with a few races under his belt in this car already in the Light Series. Out back, Jeff Merck first to make the move to the wall. Kyler Wynn going to go with him. Nash Brambilla's up top. The exodus to the wall begins. Hennings and Hastings have no idea they're coming. Nash Brambilla has a run out of nowhere. Hastings gets turned. Can he save it again? No. Around goes several. Big pile up. One car in the catch fencing. Steve Sizemore, Hastings, and a lot of cars involved in this one. Hard to pinpoint all of them. Josh McCullough, Landon Velicki, the 26 of Tice, Tucker McClendon. Oh my goodness, the big one, part 2, is Daniel Falkingham comes through. His hood's flapping in the air as he comes through that wreck. Even more cars involved. The 18 of Harper as well. A lot of nights going to come to an end in this one.
Yeah, it really is. And another massive wreck. I thought maybe these guys would take it a little bit easy, but certainly not the case in Sizemore. I mean, you talk about a car that's destroyed. Look at that thing. I mean, the front end, both tires caved in. You know, sometimes these guys use camber, but not that much. So this is, as you said, Dawson, going to end a lot of nights. At this point, I think maybe the guys who had damage earlier maybe starting to bring themselves back into it with the way it's been going up front. And it all starts right around the 44 of Hunter Hastings. So let's go back first and find out what exactly gets him sideways. I think it's going to be a push from out back here. Yeah, and so him and Trevor Oswanoth, they're tandemed up. In fact, they might even be pushing 3 deep. That's Kenny Reel just behind him here. Let's go to the chopper view first. And so here you go. Yeah, pushing 3 deep. A little bit dicey in these cars, but you can make it work. The only problem here is going to be that all that pushing is starting to get Trevor sideways. As that gets Trevor sideways, that forces him to get offset of the 44, which gets him sideways. Once he gets sideways, now they're really offset. And And you can see here as Hunter Hastings gets pushed below the yellow trying to save it. Oswornoth still lined up, but unfortunately on the wrong side of his bumper. Gets the 44 even more out of shape. He's trying to save it, and you know what? Makes the correction initially. See Tyler Vickery, evasive maneuvers. Heck of a job right there for the 124, but then eventually that checkup turns into a massive, massive pileup as it gets to right around Nathan Harper and Steve Sizemore.
Yeah, massive is right. There's cars I didn't even know were involved in this the first time. Jared Haynes in the 7 is involved. Looked like a couple more out back. Chase Mistretta got a piece of this. Nick Seipel got a piece of this. James Wagoner got a piece of this. There's a lot of cars involved. The 25 of Adam Young is actually kind of sandwiched in this one a little bit with the 44 of Hastings. There's a ton of cars. Sean Corbett. Excuse me. Oh, man, the ride for Sizemore. Roof first into the catch fencing and kind of slides along the wall. Even more cars involved out back. Melton, McClendon, Eberhardt. It's better to say who's not involved in the wreck. It's not a ton of cars. Kenny McCullough as well. I didn't see that the first time. The Bright Red 03, a couple big hits, and that may be his night over. We didn't even say his name a lot. He had not yet come to the front. Oh, my goodness. A ton of good cars. A junkyard in turns 3 and 4. But Sizemore got the worst of that. Goodness, what a ride.
Now let's ride on board here with Sterling Tice, who saw this all from the cockpit view. And man, goes right under Steve Sizemore, and then obviously gets slammed in the back a few times and slides down the banking. But a lot of really, really good drivers that were trying to take it easy and hang in the back that get collected in this one here. And for Veliky, I want to see what this looked like from his point of view here. Let's go back and watch it from his nose cam as he's going to brake right as this all starts to unfold out in front of him. He's towards the back of it, and then as all the chaos unfolds, he sees it up ahead, trying to check up, but a little bit of contact there. Slides down the banking. I don't think he's got a lot of damage there as he avoids Joshua McCullough right at the last second. Let's get you one more look at this here before we go back live. Check this one out. See if we can actually get a blimp cam view of this. As big of a wreck as it was, we don't have, I wouldn't say we have a single camera view that really is able to cover it all. I mean, this collect is, as you said, Dawson, probably at least half the field. Let's watch it again. All starts with Hastings. 25 runs into the 18, and it is on from there. Mistretta overall does a pretty good job of sneaking through, but still a little bit of damage. Now, I was looking to see if there was anybody that it looked like really did split the needle here, and thread the needle, I should say, and sneak through right in the middle of it, and I don't see any obvious ones there. Watching the 48, see if he makes it through. He was kind of in the middle of it. Chris Blanchard there as well. Londell and a few others trying to sneak to the bottom. The 48 may have slipped through if he doesn't spin out right there. I don't think he does. Trying to figure out exactly who that was. Again, everybody running different schemes than numbers here tonight, so it's a little bit more difficult for us, but nonetheless, as we go back live, 2x2, get ready to go back to green flag racing. 23 laps to go now, Dawson, so we didn't get to run that many laps under green during that run. Fuel mileage-wise, I still don't know if these guys can quite make it, so I think one green flag stop is still technically in play.
They cannot make it. Again, a light fuel load on board these race cars tonight. We discovered on Monday it was about 15 laps. We had a similar fuel load to this, so about 15, 16 laps is what we decided that was the max you could go. We are very much not inside that window. Now, my question is, and this is something that got discussed on Monday night when we were into that window, is we kind of had a caution at a similar spot. And we had started to talk about, okay, would it be beneficial at the 16-lap mark, 15-lap mark, 14, whatever, to come down pit road, get a few laps separation, come back out on the racetrack, and try to short pit, get away from the madness of pit road, get away from any accidents or penalties or whatever, or missing your box because there's so many cars, and maybe try to get a jump on the field. Now, for those of us that tried it on Monday, it did not work, as less cars did not equal a quicker pit road stop. We were not able to get hooked up quickly and ended up, excuse me, not benefiting from it. But I wonder now if anybody discusses that strategy tonight, because it used to be that was beneficial. I remember a time when you could short pit and it would work. I'll see if anybody else tries to do it tonight.
Sounds like a plan. Also, Josh Fryer in the chat says, what a cluster. Also, it's pronounced Thess, not Tice. All right, well, we appreciate that, Josh. We'll make sure we say it right from that. I could have swore somebody told me back then that it was pronounced Thice, but again, do appreciate that, and it goes for all the drivers. If you hear us pronouncing a name wrong, let us know how to say it. We'll try to get that corrected. All right, green flag back in the air. 22 laps to go at Talladega. Kyler Wynn leads the way, and he will quickly have a chance to jump to the bottom of the racetrack here, but will he do it, or will he stay up top? Jeff Merck, Tyler Vickery following in line. The bottom's open for opportunity, but nobody wants it. Everybody trying to stay up top for now. We'll see how they feed onto the backstretch here. By the way, leading the inside, we've got a few drivers that we haven't had a chance to know too much. Whoa, man, big move right there. Jeff Merck trying to go to the inside, but he wasn't able to jump in front of the 14 of Jared Sabert. And so now he'll have to stay in the middle for now. He is going to pick up some help, though. Whoa, another big moment right there for Chris Blanchard. As they try to organize, it's the top that continues to roll, but here comes the 14 of Jared Sabert on the bottom.
And again, you mentioned the aggression level not going down. It's definitely not going to. Oh boy, a couple moves happen at the same time. Trevor Osmoth goes to the middle. Kenny Reel went to go with him, but no help coming from out back. That's Steven Scott Jr. He was involved in the incident a moment ago, and for the first time tonight, 4 wide at Talladega is for a moment. Freddie Bassanis is out of line. Trouble out back maybe as Blanchard got turned, but it looks like everybody keeps it straight. We'll try to keep the draft. 21 to go back up front. Sabert on the bottom, Wynn on the top side, and that top side is packed together tight against the safer barrier, but it's the push of Nash Brambilla on the bottom. He'll get clear, go to the top. Kenny Reel comes with him. In the middle, Garrett Maines tries to get something going. It's Osborne. Now he makes a save. 3 wide for the lead in 3.
I'm kind of surprised to see Kyler split Nash the way he did, but it is a beautiful move. Whoa, trouble out back. Vickery around. Hard into the outside.
More trouble.
wall.
Steven Scott Jr.
Another
Corbett.
big hit.
Merck.
Corbett. Man.
Bagels.
They continue to pile up out back. Another caution. And we're not going to have anybody left in this race.
It certainly doesn't seem like it at this point. That's 3 pretty sizable incidents in 10 laps of race time, and really the 4th or 5th of the night. That's been really, really lethal to some of these race cars.
We'll go back and look at it. 20 laps to go. Slowly getting closer to that fuel window. And for Tyler Vickery, man, the night seemed like it was going so good. And then it goes so bad so quick here. Let's see what happens. He's running the top. It's Michael Triscaro behind him. Now, those two aren't direct teammates, but Triscaro is the team owner for PGR eSports. And so let's see here. Does he try to split his driver? I think he does, Dawson. That's a really interesting move right there to see from Triscaro. I guess the assumption there is maybe when they go into the corner here, I bet that's what it is. It almost looks like Trevor's on the bottom, but he's kind of hanging half and half. Trevor's kind of waiting to see which lane has the momentum. I think Michael thinks he's on the bottom, and so I think what Mike's going to go to try to do here is go down. He doesn't realize that Trevor's there, and as he goes to do it, now he kind of realizes Trevor's there and just kind of hangs right there, and once they get 3 wide, Trevor starts to work up the track. Michael starts to drift up a little bit, gets right into Tyler Vickery, who really didn't look like there was anywhere he could go. I mean, I think by the time Michael gets there, there's really not much of a gap, maybe a little bit, but just not enough to sustain itself. And fortunately, as soon as Vickery starts to get hooked down into the middle, they start to pile up. Triscaro, big hit. That's going to end his night. Veliky's involved, and then the bigger crash was actually the one that happens in front of this. That was Steven Scott Jr., by the way. As I was trying to look for him here, who we saw with that big hit, Sean Corbett as well. There's the contact. Watch the 45 and the 77 right there. They get together, spins around, and there goes Corbett. Oh, man, Merck gets collected too. Chris Melton slides down the racetrack. A couple cars into the inside safer barrier. Cody Nagels is involved. He had nowhere to go. This is just another really, really massive, unfortunate incident, but you know, Dawson, I'm curious as to your thoughts here. Now, I know we really only looked at it from kind of the TV3 view, so as you talk about it here, we'll play it again from the chopper view, but for Triscaro here, that's just, I don't really know how else to describe it besides a move that we're not used to seeing him make, which is what kind of makes me think there was something else going on here. You know, maybe he was expecting Vickery to drop down a little bit sooner. Maybe he thought Trevor Osmoth was lower. I'm just not sure. It just seemed a little bit odd.
I lean towards the latter. I think he starts to make that move, and we can watch it in slow motion all we want to, but again, this happens really, really fast. And what I think happens here for Triscaro is maybe, you know, when you're looking out your left, and I can't speak for everybody. I'm not on a triple monitor setup. I can't see out my left window. And when you're 3 wide and 195 miles an hour, you don't exactly have time to click a button and look to your left. to be able to see out that window net and see where Trevor is. He gets a call there from his spotter, you're too wide. He doesn't know that Ozernaut has come off the bottom into the middle, and I think by the time he realizes it, he's up on Tyler Vickery's back bumper. Then he's got to adjust, and he's just not able to adjust. I think as he gets to Tyler there's a little bit of netcode involved too. I think if Trevor stays on the yellow line, they get away with it. Unfortunately, by the time it all happens, it happens all just bang, bang, bang. And Triscaro, I think by the time he realized it, it was just a little bit too late. That's what it looked like to me. You look at it in slow motion, obviously a lot more incriminating on Mike, maybe trying to force a gap that wasn't there. I just think it happened so fast. I think he anticipated the gap to be way bigger than that.
I would agree with that for sure. And by the way, I don't know if there was definitely still a little bit of contact. I was wondering if maybe the netcode itself actually turned him around, but nonetheless, as we go back live up front, leading the way now, how about Michael Barksdale? Up 25 positions from where he started this race at, the driver out of Texas, trying to see if he can potentially grab his first win in the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series here tonight. He's going to have to hold off a pretty hungry field for 17 laps to do so, as you've got Garrett Maines in second, Kyler Wynn third, Kenny Reel fourth, and Trevor Ozernaut rounding out your top five. So it's going to be, again, 17 laps to go as we get ready to go back to green flag racing here. And I wanted to see if we could pull up Michael Triscaro, but it doesn't look like he's in the chat right now. And up front, I mean, you look at some of these names. Nash Brambilla, he's had to work his way up to the front a few times. So you got to think he's got a pretty good feel for this car at this point. But, I mean, you know, Dawson, at this point, knowing that track position's crucial, I think the second I get in the fuel window, especially knowing that now we only have one green-white checkered instead of three, I am pitting, even if I have to stretch it, and I am staying out from that point on. I think that's the only really strategy that can be at play at this point.
Yeah, and you know, I think we saw it on the first cycle that, you know, stuff can happen so fast, and a crash can happen so fast that you know, you get caught on pit road or you get caught staying out an extra lap, bang, all of a sudden now you're 20th instead of the track position that you had because you have to come down pit road. Everybody else at pit before you does not. And in this late stage of the race, yes, I know you can make stuff happen fast in this car. You can't make it happen quite that fast going from the back to the front. We've seen a couple guys do it, but at the stage in the race we're going to be at, I can't anticipate that it'll be that extreme. Now, I will note, we got a special guest in the booth here with us. Austin, I don't know if you want to bring him in, but Landon Veliki's joined us up here and has expressed some interest to join us for the ending of this race.
I saw Landon eavesdropping up here. Figured we'd get to him here on the next caution. All jokes aside, though, Landon, it's good to see you up here on our end, but obviously unfortunate on your side of things. Didn't go the best, but as we get ready for this final restart, what was it like out there tonight?
Green flag, green flag.
Well, I don't know. I got killed on lap 3, and then everything else after that, I finally fixed all my damage, and 2 laps later, I get absolutely murdered that time. So, I don't know. It's just unfortunate, but I guess the racing's good at the front. I don't know. Cody seemed to be having a good time. I don't know. I can't personally say because I wasn't even involved in tonight's race, but yeah, I don't know. This car is really unique. It's really fun when you're not crashing, I should say. It's really fun to be a part of. And just the way it races, kind of similar to a combo of an Xfinity and a Gen 6 car. Really weird dynamic to have, but it is a lot of fun. Just once again, I just get killed. So I guess I figured I'd just come up here and join y'all in the booth.
Well, next best thing to do. It's just 16 laps to go, and on the bottom, Trevor Ozernaut leading Brian Hennings, trying to see if they can get that line to the front. One in the wall further back here. Can they all hold on to it? No, one off the track. Now this is going to be a big hit. Hard into the inside wall goes the 46, Matthew Stallneck. Falkingham drives by. He's got the hood on the windshield. I don't even know how he can see. Guys, look at this. Go over to Daniel Falkingham. He is driving right now at 150 miles an hour with the hood in his face. Oh my goodness, the chaos continues. Let's go back though and see what just happened right there for Matthew Stallneck, who, by the way, I don't even know if was he still on the lead lap or not here. We're going to find out. He had just gotten his damage, I thought, mostly fixed here. And actually, I took us a little bit too far back here. So we'll back this up the manual way. There's the 46, but coming around here off of turn 4, somebody either turns him or there's a checkup. Yeah, so he got all the damage fixed. Getting pushed by the 47. And right as they get off the corner, contacts and gets turned. Into the inside wall he goes. That's a big hit for Matthew Stallneck, and right back to where he started this race at. Meanwhile, up front, as we're coming to 15 laps to go, Garrett Maines now goes to the point with Kyler Wynn pushing.
Oh boy, this is sketchy up front right now. The pushes, as I predicted, have gotten desperate again. And Kyler Wynn, Garrett Maines, Trevor Hosmernoff have been throwing haymakers, right hooks, uppercuts at each other for the last 5 laps now. Lurking though, Chris Melton, Jared Haynes, Kenny Reel, and the man going to the bottom of the racetrack for the Jack Shack. How about Evan Carlbon with a power move to the bottom of the racetrack? He's going to try to get the lead with the help of his teammate. That top line is 5 cars deep connected, with Garrett Maines out front on the point. Chris Melton, Evan Carlbon, Jared Haynes. There's guys in this lead pack now as virtue of these wrecks that have a chance to get a monumental win in their PGR careers, looking for win number 1 as Carlbon tries to go to the point on the bottom.
But look at this, Dawson. I mean, this is what you want at the end of a race. 4 Jack Shack teammates lined up on the bottom, and they set it up that way. They all single filed out in that line, and now they are going to potentially have a little bit of control over who leads this race as the 7, Jared Haynes, tries to propel his teammate Evan Carlbon out to the front. Nothing doing yet. Kyler Wynn, Garrett Maines still working that tandem block now as they move up to the top lane.
Yeah, and those PGR boys now, Hennings, Brambilla are together. A couple others starting to come back to the front. D3, I thought Daniel Eberhardt had been in every wreck tonight. He's inside the top 12. Freddie Bazinez has been in wrecks tonight. He's in the top 12. There's all kinds of different drivers up at the front of the field. Carlbon, what a block to the outside, goes to 78. And all of a sudden now, it is an all Jack Shack front row. Carlbon leads on Garrett Maines' bumper. Got to be careful on that push. If he doesn't get split, he's going to get turned into the outside wall.
Can everybody save it? Carlbon, no. He's going to go back around, gets clobbered by the one of Garrett Maines. Caution back out for the 5th time here tonight with 13 laps to go. The Barks Root Beer 78 Chevy Camaro. Actually, these were back in the SS days. Nonetheless, that machine, a little bit of damage, but not as bad as it could have been. Carlbon may actually get away with this one. A little surprising, as it looked like it was a significant hit that he took right there from Garrett Maines. Worry about the suspension components in that race car, but right now it seems to be driving okay. Let's go back and look at it here. Again, 5th caution of the night. And man, the Jack Shack was looking so pretty up front. Carlbon off of 4 almost overshot his block, but then as they get into the travel here, Garrett's pushing. And where does it all go sideways here? Carlbon up the track a little bit, and he gets back down, and I'm not sure if that has to do with the pushing or if that had to do with just Carlbon getting a little bit out of shape. Either way, they get offset of each other, and that's what's going to turn Carlbon back into the wall. Watch this again. There you see the one, Garrett Maines. So he's going to size up Carlbon right as they get into the trial, but he gets him a little offset left. Now, it did look to me, guys, and I'm curious to hear what you guys thought on this, but it did look to me like right before Garrett got there, Carlbon started to drift up just a little bit. Not much, but that little shot sends Carlbon up even more. Garrett cuts him a break. Garrett follows him back up. Carlbon shoots back down, but it looks like Carlbon maybe shoots a little too far, and now he's offset. And I don't know if at that point Garrett was trying to get to his outside or just couldn't check up in time, but he gets into the 78's right rear. That sends Carlbon into the outside wall. He tries to save it, but unfortunately that second one, well, actually he does correct it, but then the second correction right here is where he overdoes it. He gets clobbered by Garrett, but only a 2-car incident. Certainly could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it looked like it to me too. Yeah, I kind of wondered, how much was it impatience on the part of Garrett Maines? Also, the fact that Carlbon kind of leaves his teammates on the bottom, and Garrett says, "Okay, kind of get an opportunity now to jump around you, get a split, go back to the lead." We know how Garrett Maines likes to operate. He wants to lead every lap, and you can't blame him. It's a race. These guys are out here racing. But I wonder a little bit too. The first push, okay, you cut him a break. The second one, you wonder if Garrett got a little impatient, said, "All right, we're not going to go anywhere. I need to try to get around you." And unfortunately, just get disconnected there with Carlbon. Really tough break. A guy I just talked about had a perfect situation. Unfortunately, it just goes bad for him. Now, I think he did get away. I think you're right. The hit that he took on the wall was not extreme. The hit that he took from Garrett was not extreme. I think he may have gotten away with one, but that track position loss with only 10 laps to go. It's going to be tough to come back from.
Yeah, it really is. 10 laps is a long time at a super speedway, but not in a field this massive, even with all the cars that have been taken out. It'll be a tough hill to climb for sure. And by the way, approaching 10 laps to go, we're probably going to go green with 9 laps to go, would be my guess here. So before we line anything up, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be back for the finish here at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got the monkey has prime! This season, we are hydrated!
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill.
On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series, ready to come to a close in just 9 laps. And with Landon joining us up here in the booth, we are going to go a 3-man radio style here for the rest of the way. Landon is going to be on the call from the start-finish line to turn 1, turn 2-ish. Dawson will take it from turn 2-ish to about turn 3, maybe a little bit further. And I'll take it all the way back to the start-finish line. All right. Here we go. It'll be 10, actually make it 9 laps to go to decide a winner at Talladega as they work back up into the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air. 9 laps to go at Talladega.
Got a great push on the bottom from Kenny Reel to Trevor Osmeroth. Those two Jack Shack teammates unfortunately just lost their other one in Evan Carlbon, and Kyler Wynn is just kind of stranded out there with the other Jack Shack teammate of Jared Haynes behind him. Osmeroth's going to clear up in front of Kyler Wynn out of 2.
The Alabama gang super stretch with 9 laps to go. It's Osmeroth in control in the middle with Wynn and Haynes. Top side, it's the PGR car, Nash Brambilla, I believe with Chris Melton in that 52 that's behind him on the bottom. It's Kenny Reel with Jared Sabert, the underdog. And as the field rumbles back up the banking, Austin potential for a win number 1 tonight.
Boy, that would be a heck of an underdog victory. But Trevor Osmeroth, he wants it. He wants it bad, leading the top. Kyler Wynn sticking with them. They're going to get split to the middle, though. There goes the 7 of Jared Haynes. Osmeroth going to pick up his teammate. 3 by 3 as they work into the tri-oval. Kyler Wynn up top. The 88, Kenny Reel on the bottom. Trevor Osmeroth in the middle. 8 laps to go at Talladega.
I'm not so sure that was a wise decision, by Trevor Osmeroth to clear down from his teammate. Look at the run topside. Kyler Wynn, Nash Brambilla, Chris Melton, they just allowed themselves to get side drafted all the way through the sucker hole by kind of both lanes. We got some net code on the bottom between Kenny Reel and his pusher, but they sorted that out, thank God. Now you got still Nash Brambilla. What is he going to do here? He's never won a PGR race. Chris Melton's up in the 3rd position. And how about Steven Scott Jr.? There he goes to make a move with no help in the 3.
Yeah, Scott to the inside. Wynn still leading, and the moves haven't been very coordinated as they rumble back on turn 4. Man, Daniel Eberhardt, Steven Scott almost got discombobulated right there, and Garrett Maines got hung in the middle. No organization behind the leaders.
No organization yet, and that is all Kyler Wynn wants to see out of his rearview mirror is Nash Brambilla and Chris Melton sticking with them, and it'll be 7 laps to go. Watch out, Everhart jumps to the top.
D3 throwing hellacious blocks, making it 4 wide backside, but you have the top 3 breaking away with Wynn, Brambilla, and Melton. Kyler Wynn doesn't have any friends up here. I will point that out. He has no teammates. He has no friends up here. Brambilla is going to have Melton's help, I would assume, if he wanted to make a move, but right now he's got D3 coming back in this, rising from the dead, and we got a caution. Jeff Rosenroth saving it. What a save by a couple of cars out of 2.
Daniel Everhart takes the run to the bottom. Couple cars out back, having some problems. Kenny Reel is one of them. Brian Hennings into the picture as well. Up the banking, and now off turn number 4, new leader, D3. Daniel Everhart to the point with Michael Guest in tow.
You could almost see when they got stalled out by that side draft for just a moment, but then eventually pushed through it. And Everhart gets to the lead, gets right to the top. Him and Kyler Wynn may very well tandem together for the rest of the way. Just 6 laps to go, and the top 3 have looked the best so far over the last 5.
Definite underdog potential up here throughout this entire top 10. Daniel Everhart, again, back from the dead, still has some damage on the Rivers race car as the yellow flag flies.
Caution for trouble further out back, trying to find exactly where it was here. Chris Blanchard. Yep, the number 9 machine goes around, and he does have a little bit of damage to the left side door in the left front of his Chevy SS. So he will get it back rolling, and man, this is going to send us close to overtime. I don't know if we're quite going to make it that far. But before we talk about overtime and the new rule, let's go back and see what gets Chris Blanchard turned around. Now, he was kind of back towards the back of this group, kind of minding his P's and Q's, trying to slowly work his way up there. And you see the 00 right there in the middle. That's Michael Barksdale. Barksdale actually gets together with the 14 of Jared Sabert on the bottom. That's what actually kicks this contact off that leads to the wreck. So here we go. Watch it from the chopper view. There's Barksdale. Does Saber just try to come up? Yeah, he sees the 77 making a move, guys, and he tries to follow him. He doesn't realize that the 00's up there, and once he gets into Barksdale, it just immediately sends him up into Chris Blanchard. Blanchard gets turned around, tagged again, and also sends the 00 of Barksdale for a slide, but no contact. Not a big wreck here. Is lucky that the 9 slid off the racetrack, because you saw that other massive pack arriving on scene just a few seconds after. So that could have certainly been a lot worse, but we get away with one right there. But unfortunately, Chris Blanchard will lose all of his track position now with just a few laps going to be left in this race.
Yeah, it's a tough break, obviously, for Blanchard. Just driving along, looking out the windshield. All of a sudden, he's looking at the campers on the infield and going for a slide. Now, the lucky break was there weren't a ton of cars behind him. That's kind of where, as a driver, you're like, well, I'm kind of glad there's been a lot of incidents tonight, or that probably would have been the end of the night for Blanchard, who goes for a spin right where the whole field would have been. So a lucky break. Now, the unlucky break is for the leaders. About that top 10 that had broken away. I mean, that was going to be the cars that decided the race, that had a chance to win. Now you bring back into it, a dozen cars that are not fully damaged. And one that I noticed specifically, going back live away from this incident, that I think, and I'll have to go back and double check this as he comes down pit road, is almost all the way repaired somehow is Daniel Falkingham. They put a whole new front end on that car, and they've had so many incidents tonight. Falkingham now only lacks a rear end. He's got the hood back, though. They must have taped it down bare bond. Now the 88's hood back to his race car.
Well, that's why
that is pretty hilarious. So I'm sorry, Austin, not to interrupt you, but being the guy that was behind Daniel Falkingham in the pits, I qualified second right behind him tonight. I just watched his car go what seemingly was awful at first, and then it got a little better. Then it got worse when he ended up upside down at some point, and then here he is crab walking everywhere, and now he's got everything fixed back up, like Dawson said, except the right rear, or anything on that rear, I should say. You can't count him out of this yet. There's still going to be a shot. The way these guys have been racing for him to win this race, and he's somebody you always got to keep an eye on in general, so we'll see.
Yeah, and if he wins, I'd be amazed. I think the thing that I was going to mention is, and that I'm even more impressed about, is this is the mindset you really got to have in some of these money races, is what Falkingham did. As much damage as he had, remember, I had said his competitive chances are over. But what he was thinking about is the fact of, hey, listen, if I stay on the lead lap and we get a lot of cautions, I'll slowly fix this damage. And really, it doesn't matter how much damage you have. Guys, we know if you're on the lead lap, on the last lap of this race, you have a shot of cashing out the money. We have seen some really massive and crazy wrecks up front that have cleaned out everybody except for the damaged cars way in the back off of the pack. So even if Falkingham doesn't have enough speed to make it to the front, just staying on the lead lap and getting even some repairs to that car are going to be enough here to at least give him a shot. So it's going to be fun to see. The bigger concern I have, though, is, yeah, for Daniel Eberhardt, the rear end of that race car definitely looks like it is really close to falling off, and we've seen that before. But more so, just whoever's pushing him might be a little bit sketchy in the sense of if they see that, do they maybe kind of shy away from trying to push him as aggressively as they normally would?
Well, Kyler Wynn won't, I can tell you that much from from the experience we have watching Kyler Wynn. He's certainly going to throw caution to the wind, and if that back end falls off, I'm not sure he's really going to be too focused on it, and we'll have to see if those two can get back lined up, because just a moment ago they were pushing and seemed to be fine. Again, we just kind of, if you're Daniel Eberhardt, you're hoping that back bumper hangs on for dear life for at least what's going to be 2 laps to go. Now, it will not be overtime, I don't think. I think it'll be a natural green-white checkered, so I don't think this will apply, but it's a good time to bring up a new rule change for PGR that we just went through this last week and tried it in the light series on Monday. 1 green-white checkered instead of 3, and it's going to get raced out. Now, again, this one will not count, but another caution, we venture into that territory of trying the new overtime rule.
Yeah, and that's gonna change problems. Sorry, we got a little radio style thing mixing up now, but we apologize for that. It's a little impromptu, but anyway, that is true. It worked out in the light series. The light series was a clean, relatively clean race, I will say that. But that rule of how many times, like, I know Daniel Falkingham was the victim to it the most of anybody, running out of fuel on that 3rd green-white checker. It just started screwing people up with their fuel and their strategy and everything. And then we decided, hey, in an effort to kind of clean it up and maybe save some people from that, let's go ahead and just put 1 green-white checker on there, and then that just increases the intensity, right? Because now you know for a fact you've only got 1 shot, not 3. So if we wreck here on this first lap, which, I mean, who would be surprised if we didn't? Or if we did, I should say. Yeah, who knows, these fuel numbers could be getting there at some point with them strategically, running out or anything like that. I doubt that, but you just never know, and that could put them in a very crucial scenario to end this out.
Certainly could. And by the way, before we talk about anything else, I do want to say a big thank you to Big Roost with the $5 super chat. And I can't quite read what the message says, as I don't know if channel permissions are going to allow me to say that. But hey, nonetheless, we appreciate it, Big Roost, and glad that you're tuning in here tonight. And as we do get ready to get back to green flag racing here, I think the big key word, obviously, is the fact that you get to race it out if we do go to that overtime attempt. I think that almost kind of changes the mindset. I know the way you guys were talking about it, especially you, Landon, about it, obviously upping the intensity. I kind of liked it in the sense of it means that you at least know that you're guaranteed to race both laps. There's no worry that, oh, this might end if these guys wreck, so I got to just go for it right this second. You know that you're guaranteed those 2 laps, so you can at least try to race it as if you knew you had 2 laps, because you do. Nonetheless, though, speaking of 2 laps, how about a 2-lap shootout to decide it? Natural green-white checkered style. Here we go. 2 laps to go at Talladega.
Daniel Eberhardt selected the top lane this time, somewhat blinking out, at least for me on my screen. He's got Michael Guest, which is Kyler Wynn's only assistance up here right now, and you know those two are going to try and get together, and we'll watch out for it. Eberhardt, with the lead into 1, just starting to lose the edge on Kyler Wynn out of 2.
Yeah, Kyler Wynn got a really nice push from Brand Bill topside. Asher Little throws a huge block on Garrett Maines to the Alabama gang super stretch. Half a lap will make the race official. Eberhardt to the outside wall. The leaders scramble, and they start to crash. Wynn goes sideways. A cars around out back, and caution flag flies. They're wrecking again. Brian Hennings into the outside wall. More cars going to wreck in 3 and 4.
Well, Landon called it, and here it is. Another big caution. Takes out some of your leaders and some of the guys out back. Brian Hennings, one of the cars involved, and so we will get to see the new green-white checkered rule in play here tonight. So if you're tired of caution for the night, good news, that was the final one you'll see. 7th one of the night. Let's go back and look at what caused it here. Let's go see here. So this is coming off of turn 2. There's that big block by Asher Little. Phenomenal block, by the way. And then a lot of things start getting sideways. A lot of people start getting out of shape there. It looks to me initially like Eberhardt and Michael Guest are trying to kind of walk up the track right there to get to the top. And as they do so, they just get a little bit offset. Again, it doesn't take much, but I think Guest is going to get a little bit offset to the right of Eberhardt. And so right as he gets to that point, he gives Eberhardt a little bit of a shot offset right. That turns Eberhardt. Eberhardt gets into the outside wall slightly. Now that's going to check up. Guest front bumper gets torn off. And then Asher Little gets down the racetrack. He gets into the 28. And this is where it's on, down into Chris Melton in the 52. Those two, looks like initially gathered up. Now the 81, you saw them start wrecking out back. But up front here, they initially saved it. It looked like they were going to be fine here. You see Asher Little off the racetrack, Brian Hennings as well. Hennings gets back on the racetrack. Asher comes up, gets into Hennings, and then just kind of stays in his door. They save it there. They get off of each other. But it's just a cluster. I mean, they're 4, almost 5 wide. They just never really figure out how to get it sorted back out. Eventually, Kenny Reel comes down, gets into Hennings, and that's when it really starts to unfold. Hennings with a big hit, the 28 with a big hit. Tucker McClendon, Trevor Osronaut, the 00, all with big hits in this one.
That's just something you hate to see is a wreck that, I say that long after the caution. I know it looked like they might have held that yellow flag for a second, but initially did, but then you're 5 wide at the same time in a car that isn't exactly stable with the steering. It's still just tough for guys like Hennings and Osronaut, someone that we've seen up front the majority of this race, along with Brian Hennings, just get taken out like that. Basically, when the yellow flag's already out, it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, tough break there for all involved. It kind of was a stack up, and as big as the runs have been in this car all night, and again, we've seen this, I've been able to see this on track as well. Everything happens like twice as fast. We talk about with the Gen 6 a lot and how fast everything happens in that car and how little reaction time you have. This car is kind of the same. You don't really have a ton of time to get in the brakes. The runs are huge. You're on the scene too quickly and things get jumbled up. Brian Hennings gets turned, a little bit of net code involved, and that can be the result. Man, tough break for a couple cars. Brian Hennings ran the top 10 what seemed like all night, and now unfortunately he's going to see his night not come to an end. Certainly his chances at winning the race just got a lot harder for the 74. Now, the funny part, I think, to me, guys, Brian Hennings has no front end. He is P11 by virtue of all the incidents we've had tonight. So Hennings very much alive, but how fast will that car be on this restart?
Well, regardless of how fast it is, you got to stay out at this point. I mean, these guys could wreck the entire field except for the top 2 by turn 1, and we're not getting another caution. So I agree with that decision at this point. I think you got to stay out. It'll be a 2-lap shootout to decide it. And again, you're probably used to hearing us say 2-lap shootout, the leader has to make it to the white flag for the race to be official. No longer the case. 1 green-white checkered, and we are racing this out regardless of what happens. So even if the whole field wrecks, it's going to be who can get it started back up and back to the start-finish line first. That will be your race winner. So 2 laps guaranteed. We're going to see who can win it at the conclusion of those 2 laps. By the way, hey, it's Dina says, let's go Brambilla. Big Roos says, I think most of us are adults. Yes, not all of us act like it, but Lowell. Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, that is true. Although I don't think YouTube thinks quite that way. That's the only reason we can't say it. But hey, if we ever do a Moonhead broadcast, we can turn off a couple settings and we'll go crazy up here. I've heard a couple people request it. But I don't know. Maybe not in the near future, but we'll see. I don't know. If these guys wrecked enough, I think we get kind of close sometimes.
That's definitely true. Like Mike's broadcast the other day, a couple weeks ago for I think it was the Final 4 race for March Madness, just hearing all the drivers talk, and I'm sure some new vocabulary was learned by some of the audience out there, but because of the way that some of us talk out there. But yeah, I mean, we're setting up for this final restart here, and what I'm seeing is two things right here. First, for a humorous sake, Daniel Falkingham just announced that he is 100% clean now. His only problem, he's a lap down. So he's obviously not going to be a factor left in this, unfortunately. But then you have someone that I am looking at right now, and maybe, who knows, might be a little biased. Cody Nagels is back up here. Not a clean car, per se. He's got some left rear damage. His wheel might be a little bit off, but it looks clean enough to ride. So what can Cody Nagels do here? What's his plan going to be? He does have a severely damaged Brian Hennings in front of him, so he's probably going to have to get around that. But we're just going to have to see here with all these guys that are starting to get a little bit repaired, like Cody and a few others. What are they going to be able to do?
I mean, that car might as well be brand new for the 6. I mean, that's as close as you're going to get in a race like this. I mean, look at Daniel Eberhardt running 3rd with a hole in the left rear. You can see into the suspension of that car, and he's top 3 and potentially may go to victory lane in this race. We got a bunch of guys just limping here, trying to make it home. Cody Nagels is one of them. He's got a shot. Steven Scott's been in a bunch of wrecks. He's got a shot. Brian Hennings has no front end. There's a lot of different situations going on as we get ready to go back green.
Absolutely. All right. It's going to be 2 laps to go. No more caution, so we will race these full 2 laps out to decide the winner of $300 here tonight. iRacing.com pace car makes a left turn for the final time. And here we go. Nash Brambilla looking for his first. I believe it would be his first. Actually, maybe not. Don't quote me on that. Nonetheless, though, up front, the 23 and the 2 looking for a win. The 47 and the 90 looking to steal it. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps to go at Talladega.
Well, Brian Hennings dipped out of the way really quickly for Cody Nagels. That's probably a good sportsmanship move by Hennings to do that. Kyler Wynn with a big edge on the bottom side, but Nash Brambilla holding tough with the damaged D3 pushing him into 1.
Up the banking towards the 1 and 2. Daniel Everett goes around, and that back end finally comes around. Big crash out behind the money positions, but we race it out. And Austin, as they come down the back straightaway, we've gone from 20 cars in it to 8. I don't even know if Harper's got the draft, so 8 cars to decide it at Talladega. Up the banking, Wynn, Guest, Real, Haynes, Brambilla, Scott, Maines, and Little will decide it in the Intimidator Superspeedway Series.
And that was the worry. Now the concern is, does everybody stay up top? Who makes the first move? The 77 tries to go, but he gets no help. Everybody's scared to go to the bottom because they're afraid that what just happened to the 77 is going to happen to them. What can Kyler Wynn do to hold everybody off? 1 lap to go at Talladega. Here we go.
We're looking at a 6 versus 2 up here in this front pack, and right now the 6 isn't really doing much to do anything about it, except for Garrett Maines and Asher Little into turn 1. What are Kenny Reel and Jared Haynes going to do? Jared's going to stay up. Kenny Reel, he might want to hop down in front of that, see if he can grab that run off of Garrett in that push, because we know that Kyler and Guest are going to stick together.
Kenny needs to back up. Kenny Reel and Jared Haynes and Nash Brambilla need to back up and get a run and start to get to these 2 cars. They can hang them on an island, and as they climb the banking and all the way home they come. Kenny Reel got to look at his first PGR win. Where does he go? There goes Brambilla into 3.
Brambilla taking it to the inside. Final time off of turn 4. Will Kenny Reel go? Does anybody else go? Garrett lines Brambilla up. They get offset. The middle still struggles. The outside prevails. No move up top. Kyler Wynn going to lead them all back to the start-finish line. Does the 88 have a run? All the way back to the line. Does Kyler Wynn hold on? Kenny Reel steals it. At the last second, the 88 pulls ahead. What a move from Kenny Reel to grab his first win in PGR.
Forgive me, I'm trying to see. I mean, that is, on my timing scoring through SDK, Kyler Wynn won the race, but I can't even tell. I believe Kenny Reel is actually your winner. Sure enough. Oh my goodness. That is a tie. That is a straight up tie between Kenny Reel and Kyler Wynn. Goodness gracious. I mean, they're calling it for Kenny Reel, so what a win by Kenny Reel. Congrats to him.
I thought Kyler had it initially. Sorry to cut you off, Dawson, just real quick. I thought Kyler had it there initially. I mean, the top was completely lined up here as they entered the tri-oval. I knew Guest wasn't going to leave, and I figured, oh, okay, well, Kyler Wynn's got this in the bag, and then all of a sudden, Kenny Reel catches everybody off guard. He jumps to the bottom at the perfect time. Jared Haynes bails off the top, so it leaves just 2. So even though not all the help was there on the bottom, at least not bumper to bumper, all the momentum was there. So Kenny Reel edges him out like, I mean, what is that? Less than a foot? Are you kidding me?
I haven't found a conclusive view that shows me one way or the other. I mean, Kyler, you got to give him a little bit of props. He tried everything he could to knock Kenny Reel out of shape. He did exactly what I thought they were going to do, Austin, what I said he was going to do. When you move out of line on 2 cars in this race car, you essentially throw a parachute out the back of the 47 of Guest. We'd seen it all week in the Light Series. We've seen it all week in officials. It happens. When you jump out, for some reason, the air on that rear car, I don't know. It's like you throw an anchor out the right side window, and he moved. I mean, you could not have timed that any better if you're Kenny Reel. I thought he went too late. Turns out it was dead on perfect. What a move.
An official gap, real quick, Landon. Official gap is 1,000th of a second between your race winner, Kenny Reel, and Kyler Wynn. So I think they're going to keep that official. But, man, what a crazy ending this one had.
I mean, my biggest takeaway here is how refreshing is it to have a first-time winner here once more in the PGR series. That's just awesome. That's the best part of it to me. And, you know, you're going to have it in a race like this with the amount of attrition that we had in this race. I mean, we had 8 cars left at the end, only maybe 11 of which were competitive until they got wrecked or whatever. And we have Kenny Reel, first-time win for him. That's great. I really don't know what to say. I'm extremely happy for Kenny Reel getting his first win here tonight.
If you've got it, Austin, I don't know what camera angle you've got up right now, but restart cam, if you've got it, is the most conclusive one I can see. And I mean, that's a sheet of paper between those 2 race cars. And that's one of the best finishes we've ever seen.
Yeah, it certainly was. We'll go back here and see if we can get one more angle of this here. We did see it from the photo finish cam, which, I mean, yeah, as close as it was. I wanted to see if we get any better of an angle here on this. I mean, man, these guys were literally, that is as close as you can get. I mean, as you said, Dawson, piece of paper maybe, but that's about it. And I think for, Kyler and Guest there, I think they did everything right. I don't think there's really much else that they can do. It was just a perfectly timed move by Kenny Reel to get the job done. So with that, let's go get your results here so we can get an interview from your race winner and the rest of your top 3. So again, Kenny Reel, first time win in PGR, comes at a photo finish as he takes it over Kyler Wynn by just 1,000th of a second. Kyler Wynn does take that second spot here tonight. It's Michael Guest, Coke Series driver, getting himself another money spot here tonight. He rounds out the podium. And Snash Gravilla back in 4th. Garrett Maines 5th. Jared Haynes in 6th. With Asher Little back in 7th. Steven Scott Jr. 8th. Matthew Taylor in 9th. And Quentin Steinbach rounding out your top 10.
I apologize. My data is not trying to cooperate right now. That finish was just so cataclysmic, it's ruined my system. Let me try and pull this up for you and go through the rest of these. 11th place tonight. Here we go. That's perfect. Sterling Theis with an 11th place finish. Brian Hennings 12th. Sean Corbett finishes 13th for Dega Pros tonight. Josh McCullough for McCullough Motorsports 14th. Chris Taylor, a newcomer, I believe, to PGR. The last car on the lead lap, 15th position. That tells you how this race went. Mark Vondell finishes 16th here tonight. 17th will be Nathan Harper for NBG. 18th place, Daniel Falkingham as well. A Herculean comeback to get all of his damage fixed. Just not good enough at the end for Daniel Falkingham. 19th place will be Evan Carlbon for the Jack Shack, and Tyler Vickery rounds out the top 20.
A lot of tough breaks in this next group of 10. Michael Barksdale, 21st, ran a nice race. Unfortunately, didn't turn out the way at the end he wanted it to. Daniel Eberhardt led laps, finishes 22nd. Cody Nagels, 23rd. He talked about him in the last restart, gets involved in an incident there. On the backstretch, the big wreck. Freddie Bazinez in 24th. Jared Seibert ran a good race as well in that 14 machine. He finishes 25th. Michael Triscaro, unfortunately, the quest continues for the 34. He'll go 26th. Tucker McClendon in 27th. Another guy that led laps, Trevor Osborne, 5 laps down in 28th. Tough break for him. Same with Chris Melton in 29th for R&R. Both guys really, really nice runs. Unfortunately, the finishing result will not be what they want. And Adam Young for the Jack Shack back in 30th.
Chris Blanchard finishes 31st. Matthew Stolnick 32nd. Nick Seipel 33rd. James Wagner troubles early, finishes in 34th. Jeff Merck, another tough break for him, 35th. And our broadcaster up here, Landon Velicki, finishes in 36th. Chase Mistretta 37th. Hunter Hastings in 38th. Steve Sizemore 39th. And Ken McCullough Jr. rounding out your top 40. John Darnell 41st. Logan York 42nd. Dylan Jones 43rd with Mike Davenport in 44th. Stephen Miles 45th, and Ryan Bailey finishing in that 46th position. All right, well, just before we do go grab your top 3 for interviews, one more thing that I do want to go back and look at briefly was that last restart wreck that we saw that started with Daniel Eberhardt. I'm curious as to did he get some help, and if he did, who does he get the help from here? So as they go into the corner, he's pushing second in line, and, oh, boy, he quickly gets moved out of shape here. Is that Asher Little just trying to push and maybe pushing that 90 up the racetrack a little bit, or was it maybe some of the damage? Watch it from the chopper view one time here. See, as they get into the corner, they're pretty much 3 tandemed up, and Asher Little, yeah, I think just gets Eberhardt a little bit offset. Eberhardt tries to get back in, but Asher never cuts him a break to do so, and unfortunately, that turns Eberhardt across the nose. And as he goes back down here trying to save it, but comes right back up the racetrack. Cleans a whole bunch of them out right here. Back and look at this one more time from the onboard view of Daniel Eberhardt, so you can see what it looked like from his end. And watching it here. So he's in line and right there, gets turned, tries to save it, and goes right back up into the pack. Cleans a whole bunch of them out. All right, so go back live now. And go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Going to start first here tonight with first-time race winner in the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series, and that's Kenny Real. Kenny, this is Austin and Dawson up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, we didn't see you for a while there. You come off the suspension for a few weeks, and you find your first victory in thrilling fashion. A lot of people saying that that is one of the best finishes they have ever seen. You edge out Kyler Wynn by 1/1000th of a second. Tell us about how you timed out that move coming back to the line.
Yeah, I was basically just telling Jared I was going to stay in line until the last possible second. They're all four, and I seen Garrett and Nash come with a run, and honestly thought I was going to get spun off the nose when I made the move, but it worked, and I don't know how I ended up getting that win, but Kyler ended up coming down and slamming me, trying to get me out of shape, and barely edged him out. But yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, man, the first win, it seems like it's always got to feel like the best, but do you feel like now that you kind of got that chip off your shoulder, you can go out there and try to do this more often?
Yeah, because usually I always get wrecked on the last lap, so finally got some luck on my side throughout the race, and yeah, it's finally good to finally get one, especially after a lot of races and coming back from the suspension and getting one.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Kenny, before we let you head out to celebrate the big win here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to all my teammates over at Jack Shack. Couldn't have done it without them tonight, and shout out for you guys putting on the broadcast and everybody that puts on the league.
Absolutely. And Kenny, thank you for talking to us. Congrats again on the win, first of many, and we will see you next week.
Everybody, appreciate it.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher here tonight. The Canadian driver, Kyler Wynn. Dawson Wise stands by with him.
Well, he's currently deaf, and there he is. Kyler Wynn. It's the boys up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yep. What's going on?
Obviously, you hate to finish second. Got to imagine a bit of a sour taste. You led a ton of laps, looked really dominant at the front of the field. Take us through your night. Take us through that last scramble at the end. What happened between you and Michael Guest there at the end? We thought for sure that race was all but over by the time you guys reached the trial.
Man, this is the most frustrated, angry I've been for second place in one of these races, because that was 3 in a row for me if I got the win there. To win 3 in a row, or to win 2 in a row even in GR is pretty special. So going for 3 in a row, had Mike. The run Kenny got when he pulled down was insane. I don't know if we could have done much. I tried to go down and side draft him, but a little bit too much momentum on me and Mike. So it was just unfortunate.
Well, tough break. Obviously, you mentioned the 3 in a row would have been a special moment for sure. But look, now we've seen this car in the Light Series. Now it makes it stop with the big dogs here. First race under the belt. What did it feel like up front? Kind of what are your first impressions of this car? And, kind of what did you see from the drivers as the race went on?
Yeah, a lot of yellows, but I think a big factor is the bumper hook. It's right now, if you lock bumpers in the corners or even on the straightaways, it's RNG whether you're going to hook them or not. We saw a lot of that tonight, a lot of bumper hooking. If they fix that in this car, I think this would be the best super speedway car. It is a blast, man. You can make every lane work. It's kind of got characteristics of all 3 of the cars combined, which I like. The runs are massive, but not next gen big. But yeah, definitely the best car right now, minus the bumper hooking.
We'll completely agree. We'll completely agree with you, as we've kind of seen this a few times now. I've gotten to race it and completely agree. This thing is a blast. It's wild. It's fun. And certainly a good night for you. A second place finish again. Got to feel sour, but nonetheless, another good run for you. A dominant run for you here in PGR. So before we let you go and enjoy the winnings, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just Michael Guest for committing with me there at the end. We couldn't do much coming to the line, but he was staying committed. I'm thankful to have him as a friend and teammate. And you guys for the broadcast. You do a great job every week.
We appreciate the kind words. Appreciate you talking to us as well. Congratulations on the second place finish. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We will talk to you soon.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Now that'll bring us up to your third and final podium finisher here tonight. And it's one of the Coke Series drivers, teammate to Kyler Wynn. That is Michael Guest. Michael, this is Austin and Dawson up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yep, I got you.
Well, man, you finish in the money again here tonight. Last time I was on the broadcast, at least, I got to talk to you on the podium, and here you are tonight finishing again in the money. But, tell us a little bit about that last lap. We saw all the chaos out back. It happened so early. How do you kind of have to reimagine things knowing that the rest of the field pretty much is decimated and that you're linked up 1-2 with your teammate?
Yeah, to begin with, I was a lap down the entire race. I failed to miss the very first wreck and got myself like 8 minutes of damage. And it was a entire race battle to get back on the lead lap. And just getting up there, I was like, all right. But I bought the ARCA car no less than 20 seconds before gridding and joined with probably 5 seconds before gridding. So I never practiced this car and didn't realize how sensitive the bumpers were. And definitely didn't make a friend out of Daniel on that the first 2 to go. Learned my mistake and tried to push Kyler to win there. Kind of crazy. This car, you can really build up some crazy runs, and even with like 8 people, seemed like there's still options for people at the end there. And as we were getting into the tri-oval and Kenny went low, I was trying to push Kyler through it, and I think I got too close to his left rear, started side drafting him. Then I moved down to try to side draft them, but it was already too late at that point. And I needed to be on Kyler's like center of his bumper, and as soon as I got on his left rear, I think we were in trouble there. But no, that was a crazy race for me. I'm glad to be in the money again. Been a few good weeks for me.
Absolutely, and this is obviously not the only car that we'll see ran, but certainly one of the new ones. And really we see a variety over here in PGR of different cars ran. How do you kind of make the mindset switch every single week when we go from, say the trucks now to the ARCA? We'll go back to a different series next week. How do you make those adjustments and still manage to stay at the front of the field all the time?
Yeah, I mean, everybody that races here is pretty dang good at these super speedways. So we just all get a lot of practice. I probably have more super speedway starts on this game than probably anybody in here. So I'm used to all of it, just not this ARCA car. So the more we run this, the more I can get used to that and keep having fun in here.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Michael, before we let you head out tonight to go celebrate the podium finish, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, of course, just you guys and, PGR for doing this stuff. I say it every time, but I used to do this stuff a long time ago with some other people, and really cool to see it back and thriving like it is. So take it as we can, and see you guys next week.
Sounds good. Michael, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the 3rd place finish. And yes, we will see you next week. All right. Well, that is just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. But before we officially go, I mean, man, what a night it was. A lot of cautions, a lot of chaos, and a new first-time PGR winner in Kenny Real. He gets the job done. And I'll tell you what, guys, regardless of cautions, I've been saying it now that I've got to race it and now that I've got to watch it. I still love the ARCA car. I think it is one of the best cars out, and it is certainly my favorite one to race right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And yeah, that's fine. I mean, this car it's unique. And that's really the only thing that could be said about it. It's extremely unique because of how much of a combination it is between a Gen 6 and an Xfinity. Like, it pushes almost like an Xfinity with a little seasoning of Gen 6, but then the side drafting and everything else, the way it works in it is like straight up like a Gen 6, almost like the old next gen used to be. It's a extremely fun car, but I think a lot of people, we need to do some more training with it. I will say that. I think a lot of people haven't really gained that experience that they need in this car yet, but I mean, that's natural. It comes with the new territory with a new car and everything like that. So yeah, so I look forward to running this more often. Like what we said, the Light Series that me and Michael Shakira broadcasted on Monday, that was a terrific race. And it was those are the guys that series is kind of for the people that don't have the experience, and they did a terrific job with it. And tonight we I won't go that far, but it was a fun race to be a part of while I wasn't getting crashed, and a fun race to sit up here and watch and broadcast with you two.
Yeah, I picked the right week to come back into the broadcast booth, I guess. I saw this car, wanted to be a part of it, been a part of so many PGR firsts, and figured, why not? Let's add another one to the list, and it did not disappoint. Again, I know the wrecking is not for everyone, I get that, but the amount of times we've had a new car in PGR and we've kind of tried something different, this tends to happen, and eventually these guys perfect it. I mean, listen to what Michael Guest said, for example. He bought the car 20 seconds before the race started. No practice laps, no qualifying lap. Spent most of the night learning it, which I imagine a lot of these guys did. a lot of these guys either don't have the time or don't have the opportunity to jump in and run a bunch of practice laps, and they kind of learn during the race. And I thought the guys tonight did. These guys will perfect it. Boy, you hit it right on the headline, and I was going to say it too. A combination, and I love that because it means you have to have a combination of skills too. Yeah, how many guys it's like, oh, they're really good in the truck, but when we get in the next gen, okay, maybe they're mid-pack. Oh, but when we get in the ARCA car, they're really good. This car combines all of that, where you have to have the pushing mentality of an Xfinity car. You have to know the runs like the Gen 6. You have to know the side draft like a next gen. It has a little bit of everything, and I love that. It's fun to race. It's fun to watch. It delivered a banger tonight at Talladega. Kenny Reel, that's a massive win for him, considering all the circumstances, and many of us know those circumstances. That's a huge, huge, huge win for Kenny Reel.
Absolutely. All right, well, with that, that's going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed. That's it for myself, Austin Green, alongside Dawson Wise and Landon Velicky. We'll be back next week, and until then, have a good night.